Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest Stacey Hylen. Stacey is an internationally recognized business growth strategist, coach, and author. She serves as Vice President of Consulting and a senior coach for Chet, Holmes, and Anthony Robbins' world-renowned business mastery programs, and was named International Coach of the Year in 2016. Stacey helps 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs add a zero to their business without the hustle. She is the author of the soon-to-be published book, Hidden Profits, More Clients, and Cash. She is the creator of the Hidden Profits System. All right, welcome to the show, Stacey.
Thanks, Sheila. And we got the twin memo today, so I'm really excited about that. We're on theme here.
And I'd like to start off with, this show actually came about with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before our pandemic.
Wow, so, what a great title. I love it.
Yes, thank you. And we've had every situation. So I'd like to start off with asking if you have a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oof, there was a lot of times I had a tough situation. I would say one of the tough times I had was when I first started my business. I'm American, but I was living outside of Montreal, Canada, and I had a small baby. Where I lived is 99.8% French speaking. And I was going to networking meetings like BNI, like every week. I was getting up at 4:00 in the morning, nursing the baby, going to the meeting, coming back. Like my husband and I would transfer the baby at Tim Hortons parking lot. And, it was really frustrating because I felt like I was doing all of the work. The market wasn't there. It was just when coaching first started. So people didn't even know what a coach was. They would be like, which sport do you coach? And that was like, no, not that kind of coach. And so what happened was it was really frustrating because I felt like the people that I was talking to really didn't know what coaching was, didn't believe in coaching. And then they also were too small of a business. A lot of them, they didn't have the budget for coaching. Plus I was trapped, because of the French language and having a baby. So that came like that perfect storm of like me doing all of the networking, the coffees and all of that. One of my friends introduced me to the gentleman that Chet Holmes. And so it actually came at the absolute perfect time that she said, this gentleman, Chet Holmes, is looking to add coaches to his team and he will mentor you. And when I met Chet, and you've experienced him yourself, like I said, oh my gosh, this guy knows what he's talking about. I was one of the first 2 people he brought on board. And it was just a miracle. And it allowed me to get access to people that needed my help, and I had the help that they needed. And it was a really good, partnership for a long time that we worked together.
Wow. What a gift. So sometimes when things aren't working out, it almost seems like the universe is conspiring for our best interests and guiding us to something even better than we can imagine most of the time. So,
well, I think it's so true. Like a lot of times we have a certain way that we picture it working. And I think, the fact that I was open to it and the fact that Chet was also open to it, that it was like, you don't have to stop your business to do, to work with him. It was like really synergistic, and we were partners in revenue share and everything. So it worked out really well.
Wow. That's incredible. And as a mom, a working business mom. How did that work out with a little one? How did you manage to be the manager of your business or helping so much and then having your little one?
Yeah, so I was very, very cognizant of how I built my business because of the fact my dad died when he was 56.
Mhm.
And so when he died, he hadn't done any of the things that he wanted to do. He hadn't hit the goals he wanted. He didn't spend the time he wanted with us. So I knew that I wanted to build my business in a way that I could be there for my kids, be able to, go on field trips with them until they were too cool for that. And so I actually had not my mom because my mom lived in another country, but I actually had a grandma come in my house and take care of
Mhm.
my daughter so I could still nurse and still take care of my clients with naps and all of that. So it worked really well.
Wow, that's great. Yes, and that's something that's so important. It really affects our kids actually in a good way when they see us doing what we love and living our passion. It makes a big difference later on in life for sure. I actually brought my youngest two that were teens at the time to Tony Robbins Platinum program, and they traveled with me for 2 years straight before college. And it was the
Oh,
best.
that's amazing.
Yes, it was a gift of time. My youngest son did have a heart condition since fifth grade. So, it was like what really matters when you have something like that, it's what matters most. And that family time was priceless. My youngest son passed away in
Oh, I'm
the
so sorry.
latter part of 2019. And it was like when we look back at our memories, I am so grateful that I said, you know what? Let's just go. Let's have fun. Let's travel the world. Let's be together and have all this family time and quality time.
Hmm.
And it really was priceless. And now as our world is locked down, I'm even happier that I traveled and had that fun with the family. So it's important.
Well, that it totally gives me chills, like full body chills to hear you say that, Sheila. And I'm so sorry for the loss of your son.
Thank you.
Um, because I think so many people they wait until it's too late and there's just you can't get that time back. And you see the memories popping up on Facebook of like the kids, doing things. And you know what? I think you know what? We joke that our boat was our best investment we've made. And
Mhm.
people are like, a boat is not an investment. And I said, but for us, it was an investment in our family of like having a place that the kids want to hang out, that my stepdaughter's now 27. She still wants to come and hang out with us
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
we have fun together and we create family memories. So my mission since my dad died became to give entrepreneurs back to their families.
Mhm.
I have clients now that have grown from 6 to 8 figures and they've still been able to be there for the important moments in their family's lives. Like during the pandemic, one of my clients who has an 8 figure business, he said, I'm so grateful that I've built it this way that I can actually take a step back because my daughter really needed me. She was really struggling mentally, and he was able to take some time to go spend with her and take her, away someplace to relax and, get her mindset back together.
Oh, that's so important. And that is one of the things that I struggled with most when I had my first business going forward. I had lots of gift stores starting at 23 and then had five. And I worked 17-hour days
Wow.
for about 17 years. And it was kind of a long time. I loved everything I did and I made it fun. It helped a lot of kids. I helped these at-risk youth kids too, through a training program I did. And so it was great, but it was exhausting. And I learned, okay, wow, this business mastery, what this is incredible. I don't have to do everything. And it changed my life.
That's
And
amazing.
programs really changed my life and made it easier so that I could still make a lot of money and have fun, but have more family time.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
so important. Well, yeah, and I want to acknowledge you for that because I think a lot of people they go, they get coaching, they get programs, they buy all this stuff, and then nothing changes,
yeah.
right? So you were at least smart enough to be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna bring my son with me. I'm gonna make this an experience. My daughter, I spoke at an event. I've spoken at it several years prior to the pandemic, and she came with me in person to see me speak. And those are the things that you can't, get those back. And my other daughter was in gymnastics, national level, and we were able to go to training camps. And I would arrange to do VIP days when she was
Mhm.
in different cities. And, really, we have this gift now of the internet and, geographic flexibility that, our parents never had. So we just have to embrace it.
Yes, definitely. And I'd love to hear about your new book coming out. That sounds incredible.
Thank you. Well, it's called Hidden Profits, More Clients and Cash. And it actually was a ping, like a big aha I had at the very first Business Mastery. So we were at the first Business Mastery. And for those of you that don't know, this was an event that Tony Robbins created with Chet Holmes until Chet Holmes passed away, and then Tony took it back. But what this was an incredible event. The first one was right at the beginning of the recession. And people had paid $10,000 to attend. And these were already very successful business owners, but they were in a scared mindset because of the fact that, everything changed. People lost their lines of credit, all sorts of things. And so this gentleman stood up and he said, Tony, I've tried everything and nothing works. So you can imagine saying that to Tony Robbins. It's like, no.
Intervention.
Yeah, exactly. So Tony said, well, okay, that's interesting. Tell me, what have you tried? And the guy said, a few things. And so Tony said, okay, so you've tried a few things. You must have tried a lot of times. Like, how many times did you try? And the guy said, oh, like 2 or 3 times. And Tony said, well, what stopped you from to keep going? And he said, well, I ran out of, I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough money. I didn't have enough staff. And so Tony said, so it was this lack of resources that stopped you. And he said, yeah. And so Tony said, have you ever met or seen or read about an immigrant to North America that came here with less than you, that is more successful than you? And the guy said, yeah, like you read about them in Entrepreneur, Success Magazine. And he said, Tony said, well, so the difference is this person came from another country. They didn't have the command of the English language. They didn't have the university education, or, they didn't have a credit card. They didn't have anything. They didn't have a network. And he said, they're more successful. He said, so the difference was, instead of looking at the lack of resources, they became resourceful. So that was like the aha, sitting there in the back of the room as one of his coaches. That I said, you know what? My clients at the time were experiencing this like challenge of the recession. Their credit lines dried up, their marketing dried up, and so I said, how can I help them get more clients, more cash without costing more money in marketing and advertising? So I looked at all of the strategies I knew, like that. If I looked at your business and saw like, where is it that you're leaving money on the table? Yes. And there's a ton of them, and they're all in the book. I'll give you an example of one. Yes. So one of my clients came to his coach. He came to a coaching session and said, I have to cancel. And I said, well, why? And he said, well, because I just have this $100,000 sale. Now, me, I love to celebrate with my clients. So I was like, yeah, happy dance. And he said, no, it's not a happy dance. And I was like, all right, well, how can a $100,000 sale not be a happy dance? And he said, well, the reason why it's not is because this client has been going to my competitor for the last 7 years. So that's what I call the $700,000 mistake. And so what that pinged for me was like, every single client that I have should be doing a come on back strategy. Right? You don't wait till the client's been gone for 7 years. It's a hidden profit that you have right there. You have people on your list, in your database, that have purchased from you in the past, that will purchase from you if you just reach out to them and offer them something. Yes. And so that's just one of the hidden profits that you can very, very easily do very quickly. You don't need a big team. You don't need a big budget. And I would want to add to that, a lot of people have seen this in B2C businesses, like the dentist, the chiropractor, or eye doctor, but it's extremely effective in B2B situations as well. And most B2B businesses miss it. And it's a huge, huge loss of revenue.
Yes. Wow. It's what's already, you already have it. It's already in front of you and you don't see it. That happens. I just switched over to a new planning system. I write, so I do a paper planning system, and it has been in front of me for years, and I didn't realize how it worked. And so no, that's not the system for me. And I would walk right past it. And finally, somebody showed me how they used the system and organized it. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I've been looking for. And it was right in front of me for many years. So,
and it wasn't hard, right? It just needs somebody else to point it out, right? Because we don't see it for ourselves. And I, if you look at Oprah, right? I grew up on Oprah, and Oprah would always do those makeover shows, and they were the biggest hits for her shows every year, other than giving away lots of free stuff. Right. And so she would have this person, and she would say, let me do the makeover on this person. And I, as a non-beauty person, would be like, I have no idea what to do with the person other than give them a haircut, right? But they were able to look at, oh, this color is good for them. That hair shape is good for them. This glasses is good.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even recognize the person. The person was there all along, but they couldn't see it for themselves. They didn't know how to pull together the right cut of jean, the right shirt, the whole shebang. And that's what is in your business right now. The average business finds $85,000 or more, even small businesses. So that's average for a small business. Larger businesses find way more.
Oh, yes. That's incredible. And that is something that's why we hire coaches and we go to programs like Chet's and Tony's, is because we don't see what's right in front of us so many times.
Yeah.
And to have a consultant, a coach work with you and help you get to that and see things that you're missing is priceless. And I definitely hired people when I had my store starting out at 23. I didn't know what I was doing. 5,000 square feet gift store in Montrose.
Wow.
And I didn't know what I was doing. So I hired smart people. And, like I would get the top people from Nordstrom's that they wanted to spend time with their children. And I couldn't pay them their salary, but I could give them a nanny. I had 2 nannies on staff, and they were retail Sunday school teachers, grandmas. Like,
how resourceful was that? You had the grandmas too.
Except for my kids, I needed them for my little ones. And so then the employees also had them, and I had the top staff. So I would hire marketing people, and I would be able to double, triple my income in no time. And that's how I bought 4 buildings with the proceeds. I stopped renting. I didn't like renting.
Amazing.
And then later when I closed, I had the buildings to rent out and have the passive income to travel and learn more and have fun with my family during that time that I really needed it. But that was it. I needed to go to other people, resources, books, educational information to help me with my business. I would pay people to come in and look at the store and see what I'm missing. Secret shopping before we had secret shoppers, because I didn't see it. And they were like, well, we don't see the sign. I was like, the big 3-foot sign, you don't see it, and it was those kind of things and little switches we'd make and more money would come in.
Yeah, it's super, super simple. I'll give you another example of a hidden profit. And this one is one of the most famous hidden profits that practically no one does. And that is, do you want fries with that? Right? McDonald's, when I was a kid, you would go and get a sandwich and maybe a drink if your mom was nice, right? And so they started saying, do you want fries with that? And then all of a sudden, everybody was ordering trios. And now they say, do you want to supersize that? Now they say, do you want a pie? I don't know. I haven't eaten at McDonald's in 15 years. But the point is a business can do this as well. And not just retail, not just B2C, business to business businesses can add on an upsell that increases your average sale very, very simply. So what I would tell people to do, and this is outlined in the book, is to look at what are your top products that you're selling. Don't try to confuse yourself and do it for every single thing in your business, right? Look at what would go well. So for example, I'm just going to say a planner, right? Because you mentioned it. And so if you were selling a planner, what would be the natural upsell if that's one of your top sellers to sell with a planner? Well, if you're buying a planner, then you need some really beautiful pens to go with it, right? You need some really cool sticky notes and some stickers. And so you can bundle stuff together for that upsell that people are like, that makes sense. I had a gentleman, again, in the recession and the reason why I bring up the recession, even though that was a long time ago, is that right now for a lot of people with the pandemic, it's challenging times. And I want to acknowledge that and say that during the challenging times, during the recession, these things still worked. And so, for example, this gentleman, he had a store, it was down south. his competitors were national box retailers, and they were coming in and like blowing up the TV, blowing up the newspaper ads, everything. And he said, I don't have the budget to compete with these big box people. And when we looked at his business, and I looked at, all right, where are the areas that we're going to optimize to grow it? He mentioned his staff, and he said, my staff is like, they don't do anything I say.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, we're going to have to get rid of some of the staff. And he said, well, I can't, because my staff, they were his uncles, they were his nephews, they were people he went to church with. And he said, I wouldn't be able to hold up my head in church if I laid people off during the recession, especially. So I said, all right, what the heck do we do? And again, that's where the hidden profit came. I'm like, all right, what can we do with his existing business, with the stuff that doesn't want to do anything? So we said, what's your most popular product? And in his case, it was stuff for an oil change, because they're an auto parts store. And it's funny because I don't do a lot of B2C, but that's what he was in. And I said, well, I know nothing about cars. What would be the great thing that they could buy with that? And he said, well, you should also get an air filter at the same time. So all we did was implement a policy that every time somebody bought things for an oil change, that they would just say, have you, changed your air filters lately? And he increased his sales 48% over the same month pre-recession, because it was like, boom, his sales went way up. So another little hidden profit for you guys.
Yes, that's incredible. And it's something, I actually got my oil changed a few weeks ago, and they did that there. So I was like, okay, here's an extra, I don't know, I think it was like $40 or whatever. And I think the oil change was like $120. And so that was that really makes a big difference. So there's these things that we miss.
Yeah. And it's in service of the client, right? Whether it's the planner, it's the oil change, it's a coaching or a consulting package. You're saying, how can I serve this client better, right? So if somebody signed up for a coaching package with me and they were like, I really want to run with it and go fast, then maybe they want to start off with a retreat here at my lake house for 2 days that we plan everything out, right? Or they want to do a VIP day and we like spend that time online and do it if they don't want to travel. But the thing is that that's an upsell that's very simple and easy because they're already ready to buy, right? They want more help. They want to buy the thing to plan their time. They want to take care of their car, whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah. I had no problem. I was like, oh, thank you. That's great. And I thanked them and gave them money. So it makes sense. It does. And it is something they need. And when I bought that planner, I bought a bunch of pens and stickers and all these other things and spent more on all those other things than the planner.
Exactly. And if the store had put that in place of like, all right, anytime you're selling this, if this is our most popular product, we're going to give you this stuff too to choose from. People would be loading up, like you said, like doubling their sale with the same. And they've already done the marketing to get you in the door. They've already done the marketing to get you to purchase. They've already have the salesperson. They already have the software. Anything that they're paying, their costs are the same, but now they've increased the average sale exponentially.
Yes. Now, what advice do you have for people that are now starting these side businesses, side gigs? They're just starting out because, oh my gosh, their business, their company they work for so many years is gone. And they're very talented and they're starting a business, but they know nothing. What advice would you give them? Because there's a whole lot of people doing this right now.
Yeah, it's a great question because I think it's really important to create your future yourself instead of waiting for somebody else to do it for you. So there's a few things. So one thing I would tell you right off the bat, and you know this from attending Business Mastery, Chet Holmes preaches about the Dream 100, right? To choose who are your perfect clients. So it doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter what niche you're in. Who are those perfect clients? And those are the 20% that are going to make up for 80% of your sales, right? Yeah. And it's not saying that you can't serve the rest of the market, but if you start focusing your marketing on those people, then they're going to be attracted to you. They're going to buy from you and they're going to buy more. They're going to refer more. They're going to stay with you longer and they're not going to be bargaining on price as much. So really look at who those perfect clients are. The great thing is now with social media, we can find out a lot more about those people. So what I would say is to go look at their Facebook, look at their LinkedIn, look at their Insta, their Snapchat, whatever things you're on, Pinterest, and see what is it that these people like. Are they watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians? Are they watching Shark Tank? Like, if you pick your perfect client, what's in their head? So like, if I look at my perfect clients, what I've discovered about them, I have a lot of people that are Ivy League, which is funny because I'm not an Ivy Leaguer, right? But I have a lot of people that have advanced degrees. They're doctors of something, not medical doctors, and they're lawyers. They're very highly successful people that want to reach that next level. A lot of them feel like everybody sees them as successful, but they don't see themselves as successful because they know inside that they're capable of more. So they feel really frustrated.
Right.
And so when I started speaking in that language to people, all of a sudden these people that are super brilliant would be like, yeah, that's totally me. Like, that's totally me. And so you want to look at what is the pain of that perfect client and what is the want? Like, what is their want? What is their goal? What is their dream? And where I would caution newbies is it's not what they need, it's what they want. So for example, to clarify that, like, the majority of Americans need to lose weight, right? But do we want to lose weight? And are we willing to do what we have to do to lose weight? That's another story, right? So what we need to look at is what is it that they want? So is it that they want to lose weight, or is it that they want to have more energy, right? Like, they might want to have more energy, but they might not be willing to give up their, wine or something. Right. So we want to look at what they want. And as Tony Robbins always says, people move away from pain and towards pleasure. That's how they do things. So you want to start to communicate in the language that helps them see, oh, I can move away from my pain, move towards what I want.
Yes. So right. Yes, that's something that's very important. And to find the ideal client, because a lot of times people are trying to market to everyone for whatever they're doing. And when you find that right client, they're like me with that planner. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get to the store right now. I found the secret, it's like, this is what I've been looking for. And it was ridiculous. And I went to different stores and all these things. I mean, it's just, then you have a raving fan, and you don't.
I was just going to say, your whole face is lighting up. You're excited about it. I mean, that is what you want for your clients. You don't want people that you have to drag kicking and screaming to the sale, because if you have to drag them kicking and screaming to the sale and use manipulative sales and all of that, they're not going to be a great client for you. You're going to have to keep dragging them. They're going to keep sucking your energy. So don't waste time on the energy vampires that are like, oh, I don't want that. Like, if they were to look at you, this is a paper planner, right? So if they were to market to people that want electronic planners and they have a paper planner, they'd be barking up the wrong tree, right? So they have to market to the people that are like, oh, I really want to have it in front of me. I want to go to the coffee shop and I want to lay it out and I want to think about what I want and plan it out. And if they start to speak in that language, they're gonna attract the right people. The other thing I would tell newbies or side hustlers is to focus on revenue generating activities. I had a coach say to me like 20 years ago, he said, stop focusing on the BS funnel. Everybody, and it's even worse nowadays because you can do everything yourself. Like, you can make your own website, you can make your own funnel. So you're like, oh, I'm going to tweak this, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to make this better. You have to stop doing all this back end stuff that's not going to generate revenue. You need to go out and talk to people. You need to go, ask for a sale, make an offer. You can't not make an offer, or you're not going to have a business. It's just a nice hobby.
Yes, that's so important. We are our business cards. We don't even have business cards anymore, mostly nowadays. No. But we are, how we show up and sharing about what you're doing in a way where you're not selling them something, but just sharing because you're happy. You'll get so many clients that way. It's incredible. When I tell my stories and this and that, I end up having lots and lots of clients. Oh, tell me how to do that. Where do I sign up? I'll be at a happy hour or an event or, something in my little community here. And it'll just be, people will hire me because of just a story I told. I wasn't even trying to sell them on a coaching, consulting, whatever. No. And it just happens. So that's it. And the funny thing, I think back to getting that planner. Do you know what I did? I called my close friend who also writes all the time, reads all the time, and loves to journal. And I said, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me about this planner thing? She said, I never heard about it. He went out and bought it. So what happens when you get the right target person? They're going to tell their people, their friends, and guess what? Their friends are like them. They, for me, reading and journaling and writing, and we're writers and this and that. So then they're going to go and tell their friends. And how many sales happened? I don't even know, but I think she told a lot of people too.
Well, it's a ripple effect, right? Yeah. Because now, like, you're so lit up about this planner, and like you're glowing about it. And it's like, if somebody that's a writer that likes to journal says, like, I'm looking for a planner, I'm going to be like, oh, Sheila Mac, she told me about this amazing thing. Even if I'm not using the planner for me, I'm going to be like, you need to go check this out because this is perfect for you. Yes. And that's the key. When people that they're your perfect client refer so many more clients, which is amazing because no marketing dollars.
None. You don't have to pay for this affiliate marketing if you do your marketing correctly with the finding that right client, that avatar for your business. I think. I mean, you can still, for sure, but you don't have to.
No, not at all. And I think the other thing that I've seen with having my perfect clients is that, somebody asked me on an interview I did this morning, another podcast, they said, well, how long do people stay with you? And I said, well, the funny thing is you can sign up for, a VIP day or 6 months or 12 months. But I said, I have clients that have been with me for 13 years. Mm-hmm. I have clients that have been with me for 7 or 8 years. Like, it is not like a quick fix, right? It's really like when you're investing in coaching and consulting and you're getting a return on investment, then you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to go try this program. I'm going to go try this. They're my perfect client. They know that we're going to keep working on optimizing and whatever. Like, my clients started out with me, they were at 6 figures. Well, guess what? We got to 7 figures. Well, like, it's not time to stop now. Let's keep going. How do we get to 8 figures? Right. And so we've gotten to 8 figures. Now we're at 8 figures. It's like, okay, what are we going to do to grow the team so that we can exit this business? Right. And so, the perfect clients will stay with you for a long time.
Yes, because you keep helping them. I have some clients like that too. And it's just interesting because if you're saving them money and making them so much more money, they will just, they're always, anytime they need an extra hour or two, sometimes I'll spend 5 hours with them. And the next thing you know, they'll send other businesses my way as well.
Yes, for sure.
So back to that referral thing. And so that's really important to put the people first. And that authentic, like, I really love and care for all my clients and people that I work with. And I know you do too. I could just tell. And that's the people feel it. So what advice would you give businesses to really be people focused? Because I think that's so important right now. People feel the energy of, I just want to make a sale versus this is like a client family. This is somebody I care about that I'm going to make sure I give them the results they need. What is that difference? How can people present that?
I think sometimes it's like when I got started in my first career was in insurance. And when I was in insurance, I was a really good salesperson. I was the number 2 salesperson in a Fortune 500 company my first week, right? So I came out of the gate running. But the thing is like, people would say, oh, I want to get this, I want to get that. And it was all deducted from their paycheck. And I said, you know what? I said, I would be happy to sell this to you. But I said, if I sold this to you next month, when you get your paycheck and you have like deduction for this, deduction for that, deduction for that, I said, let's get you what you need right now. And if you want to add on the extra coverages the next time, then we'll do that. But like, I didn't want them making an emotional decision that they were going to regret. And I think what happens is people start to trust you because they know, like, oh, I'm not just there to sell as many things as I possibly could. And so for new people or for experienced people, I would look at what is that effect that you want to have? Like, what is your mission? Like, my mission is to get entrepreneurs back to their family so they can have that level of prosperity that they can have the freedom to spend with their family. Right. And so when you look at that, like one of my clients, big internet marketer, he was on the Inc. 5000 list like 3 or 4 years, and he started playing taekwondo with his son on Fridays, right? Like that's time he's never going to get back if he stays in the office.
Yes.
And so it's like, what is it that you do? What is that ripple effect that you're going to have for your clients? Like, even if it's a planner, you still can have a ripple effect for your clients. So I have my clients sit down and do like a map of like, okay, here's the effect that I have for my client. Okay, that's great. They're going to make more money. They're going to save more time. They're going to be less stressed. That's great. But then what's the next level? Oh, well, now they're going to be able to spend more time with their kids and their spouse or their partner. Okay, now it's the next level. Oh, well, you know what? Now they're able to give back to the community because they have more prosperity. So they have the budget. Like, they can give to the food bank. They can give to the refugees. They can do what's their passion. Then what's the next level? Oh, the next generation. Guess what? Their kids now believe that this is possible for them and they can create a life. And then they're empowering the next generation. And so if you look at it like that, like, what is that ripple effect that I want for my business? And when you come from that, it's a much easier space than making a sale of like a gadget or something. And if it's not something that you believe in, then don't sell it.
Yes. Now, see, I had that gift store I brought up, and it had a heart, and the heart was helping those kids. So I came out of the foster care system, and I had these kids, at-risk youth, that were emancipating from foster care. Nobody wanted to hire. Over 200 kids went through this training program, and I worked with the government with Job Training Partnership Act. And so they got 6 months of training. I had to film it with that heavy camcorder, the 20-pound, and
I remember those in the big, huge things.
And this was before we had YouTube and filming the trainings and how-tos. And so I was definitely ahead of my time, but I showed that to the government, and then they would get the best jobs, the highest paying jobs after just 6 months with the training. And that was my heart. My top sales lady, actually my managing lady, Lori, she actually came from Nordstrom's, but she was trained as a social worker. And so she helped with my kids. And so I had this whole thing. That was my heart, and helping the community. And we had fun and music. We had 5,000 square foot store, so I'd have live music, all this fun stuff. So it wasn't just selling a gift.
Right. And people feel that, right? And you know that when you're giving somebody a gift, that's going to make them feel a certain way. So like having team there that's like really able to help them choose something from the heart means different than going down the store to Nordstrom's or going to Walmart or somewhere, ordering online. And that's where, it comes into play, whether you're a small bookstore or anything, is to like really put your heart and soul into it. I remember I wrote an article on my blog about the $80 cup of tea. And it was like, what it was is that I spilled tea on my laptop, and I was writing my book. It was actually while I was writing Hidden Profits. It was the very first day I had taken myself to the lake to work on it by myself in the woods. And I spilled my tea on my laptop, my water. And I went to get it fixed at the store, and I went to the bookstore next door, and she gave me a cup of tea. And she cared about me. She's like, oh, that really, and that, because of that $80 cup of tea, like I spent like $80 at the bookstore, right? Because it was like, she had a heart there of like, oh, I really feel for you. You're having a hard day. And, she was there, and people feel that.
Yes. And we actually sold tea, and we always gave free tea.
That's awesome.
You would have been one of the clients for sure. And
I'm a big tea drinker. I don't drink coffee.
And I would have this rule where I told everybody that worked for me that everybody that comes in is royalty, and whether they buy something or not, you treat them like that. So they would get a free sample. They would get this, and maybe they wouldn't buy, or they'd spend $5 or $10. And then the holidays would show up, and they would literally hand us the gift list. and it would and the budget, and we would have it all wrapped and done for them. We had this whole
That's
service.
amazing.
And so it was, and they'd bring me, the country club worked with me. I had cruise ships and lots, because it was California, I had lots of people in the industry, in the entertainment industry, that would source, I would help them source items that they were looking for show props. And so I had all these crazy
Wow, that's amazing.
because I had conversations with the people that walked in, and I talked to them, and they invited me to their weddings. I was like, oh my gosh, what's their name? Because, they don't have a name badge. I do. And so it was that, but that does make a difference, and people feel that energy. And sometimes when you're starting out, you think, okay, well, where's this money? But it shows up when you have that heart in the business. It's a heart-centric business model, I guess. And really important. Makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think you can see, like, I recently found myself in a situation that I had invested in something, and I had a horrible feeling about it. And it was just like, there was not the care there. It was like I was a dollar sign. And I said, like, I've spent more money on other programs with people that made more money, but actually gave a crap about you.
Yes.
And it was like, it just felt really crappy. And it's funny because people reached out to me this week, and they're like, are you feeling that too? And I was like, see, like, now there's a ripple effect with this person's business that everybody's talking about how terrible it is. And a lot of people are leaving. And it's because it's not the heart. It's all about a dollar sign.
Right. And why do we go to work? It's that whole going back to, we go to work, or we have a business to serve other people, and then to have this time with our family, to provide for our family, our loved ones, to live this life. And sometimes you can just work all your life, and in the end, you don't have anything left but a lot of hours of work.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, because my dad died so young, like, it made me realize, like, he literally got cancer in September. He was gone the day before Thanksgiving. And so it was like a month and a half. And it's like, yes, he changed a lot of people's lives. He helped some people, but he really had a lot of regrets. And so for me, it's like, if I can help other people avoid having those types of regrets, then I'll have done something, and also if I'm also modeling it myself, that, I'm able to do it with my kids, with my spouse, that's important as well.
Yes, yes. And the exit strategy, what would you say about exit strategy plans for a business?
Well, it's funny because I get a lot of clients that they don't want to exit their business. And I think that's the gift of this time frame that we're in right now, is that we're in this time that, you could go to Italy for a month, and guess what? You could still connect through the internet. You could put your team in place. So I'm seeing a lot of people now that are like, okay, I'll probably want to stay for quite a long time, but I'm seeing a trend where people are wanting to have their employees take over the business. That's what I'm seeing most people, is that they see the people that have given to them and put their heart and soul into it. And they're like, you know what, this person is the person that I would choose. Like, I'd want to sell my business to this person. But it has to be in a way that your sales are not all depending on the founder, right? You have to have your sales system, your marketing system optimized, your messaging optimized, so that it could be a sellable business.
That's really important. Now, for me, I bought the other buildings with my stores. So I purchased 4 buildings in California that were very big. And when I exited, I knew a year in advance that it was time. I wanted to be with my children more. And they were in school, so I became a teacher for a while and was at their school, and I had a great time. But when I left, I let people know in advance, and I helped every single employee get another job. We're still friends today.
That's amazing.
Later. And so that was something that gave me a lot of peace. And then, passive income with properties and cash flow was so nice. And so that worked out. That was mine. And now the people that didn't have that, didn't invest in their property or other properties or whatever, they didn't have something to fall back on, and they didn't even use business credit. So that's another thing that's really important, is a lot of times when you're a new business, you use your personal credit, and you can get that's how I bought these buildings, with business credit. I bought cars, I bought buildings with the business credit. And I started this business when I was 23. How do you give a
Wow, that's
23-year-old,
amazing.
how do you give them business credit? I had so much credit. I could buy anything I wanted. But I was really conservative about it, and I would pay the buildings down. And
That's awesome.
I would do the sweat equity while I was young and clean and do, whatever little
Yeah, yeah.
to just pay this building off. And then I'd buy the next one. And so that was something. And some stores were way more successful. They had been there for 30, 40 years, but they kept taking it out of their home. And they would do a home, every
Oh no.
summers are slow for retail. They would pull money out of their
Home
home.
equity loan. Yeah. Oh,
And then they would run the business through that. And so then when, they got older, got sick, this and that, they didn't have anything to fall back on for the family. And so that was that little bit of a difference, just investing or saving so much aside. We have to reinvest. I'd love to talk about reinvesting and marketing. What's your thought on how much a business should put into marketing and branding and reinvesting in business?
It's different for everybody depending on your stage of business, right? And so I think I'm not popular with the branding people, because I'm like, you don't need to brand your business to sell. Get out. Like, that's one of the things that I think people get a little too wrapped up in the beginning of, like, they're spending all this money and they haven't made any money yet. Like, I have two clients. I also have both exited their companies and sold them, and they didn't spend a lot of money on branding. They spent their money on, it was bootstrapped, right? So I think there's a power in that bootstrapping of, like, not getting partners, not getting, funding, like they are not beholden to somebody else, exactly. Right? It's one thing to get business credit for yourself, but to have some other partners that is not a good fit, that causes a lot of problems. And a lot of these people that go for the venture capital, they don't even have a sellable product. So it's really important to look at, like, let's develop what you're going to sell. Like, let's get some information, like who that perfect client is, what's the best pricing. Let's talk to a bunch of people, right? And by talking to people, I mean, like, doing the marketing, sending the emails, doing Facebook Lives or LinkedIn Lives, go do speaking in events, see what resonates with people, and then go deeper on those things, right?
Yes.
And the other thing I'll tell you is, I'm a big believer, part of the Add a Zero Without a Hustle program is to optimize your marketing and create a stacked marketing plan. So this is huge, because in over 20 years of coaching, like, years ago, I had a client who was doing extremely well, had 100 employees. Overnight, he had to lay off everybody because they passed the do not call law. Right? So we don't know. And I think the pandemic is, really showing people, like, we don't know what's going to happen, number one. And we have no control over all the things the government does, number two. And we just have to roll with it and figure out new ways to pivot, right? Like, I was talking to a business owner last night. In Quebec, in Canada, you now have to have a vaccine passport to go. Like, she has a dance studio for students, and they cannot come to her studio unless they have this vaccine passport. She's like, I have just spent the last 2 years developing online training for these kids, doing everything while still having my physical space. And now I have something else to do. So you really have to look at how can you diversify your marketing, of not just relying on Facebook, not just relying on Instagram, because, like, the pandemic has taught us, things can change like that, and Facebook can shut you down in a minute. Like, I've been banned on Facebook, not banned, but they've shut down my ad accounts multiple times, even though I didn't do anything. And it was funny because they were like, oh, you're selling crypto. They told me I was selling crypto. I'm like, I don't even have any crypto. And they told me that I was doing work from home opportunity, which I wasn't. Like, so, like, because of the bots and things that they do, it can affect your business. And I would send them a letter and say, like, this is really affecting my small business. This is affecting my ability to provide for my family. And that's one of the times when you said, when was a really hard time? That was a really hard time. I had invested in a mastermind with Russell Brunson. with ClickFunnels, $100 million company, expensive mastermind, everybody's making $1 million, and me, I get my ads account shut down.
Oh no.
So you have to diversify and have that whole stacked marketing so that you have multiple things working for you and bringing them back to your website.
That makes sense. That's great. Now we're coming to the end of our time, so I'd love for you to share maybe what the experience is like. Who would be a good fit for contacting you for the consulting and the different programs you have, and then also to share about where they can get your book and when that's going to be available.
Yes, so I work with people that are very successful already. They have 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, and they're looking to add that zero and make more profit, but without the hustle. So that means, like, if you're somebody that you're like, I just want to grind 24/7, I am not your person. Like Gary Vee's people, not my people. Grant Cardone's people, not my people, right? So I really want to work with people that are like, how can I do this smarter? How can I get more out of everything I'm doing in my business? And that's what we do when we optimize it. So most of my people are very successful. Like I said before, is like they feel like everybody sees them as successful, but they're like, this is just like the little tip of the iceberg. I could have like the whole iceberg, and I'm just settling for this little bit. And so if you know that you have that potential inside you, and you know you have the potential in your business, then I'm the person that I can help you see that bigger vision and put the steps in place strategically to help you reach it. And I do mastermind, I do one-on-one coaching and retreats here at the lake house. You can see the pretty sunsets that we have for my doc. But you can go to staceyhylen.com, and it's Stacey with an EY, and Hylen is HYLEN. Help you leverage everything now, for those of you to spell it. And you can book a free call with me. And you probably know from me talking to Sheila here that I'm very like, I want what's best for you. So like, my kids are still going to eat whether you sign up for coaching or not. Like, I want what's best for you. And if we're not a good fit, then I'll pass you on to somebody in my network. And I'm not a hard sell. I really want people that want to stay for a long time. Like, most of my people stay for multiple years because they're getting that return on investment year after year. My book is going to be coming out in the fall. So go to staceyhylen.com. The other place you can go get on the advanced list is moreclientsandcash.com. And I'm going to send you a checklist, which has some of the hidden profits on it that are things that you can do quickly to get more clients and cash. So go to staceyhylen.com if you want to book a call to talk. If you want to get on the early bird list for the book, go to moreclientsandcash.com.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you again, Stacey, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station, and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mac Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business career and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores, while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as Negotiations, on leases with Warner Brothers, and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then, and that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea. Tune in again right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.